I got one idea that I'm especially psyched out of my mind about. You know, it's one of those ideas where you're just like, yes!
Dave? Dave Flynn?
On the radio!
Hold on to your butts.
Hello, hey there, welcome to Dave Flynn on the radio, the #1 blogcast on the internet. I'm Dave Flynn, and since reading is hard, I'm going to do it for you. Today we're talking about greatness and why greatness has less to do with brilliance and a lot more to do with eliminating big mistakes. This episode's going to help you make smarter decisions, avoid those unforced errors, and win more often by doing less, but doing it with discipline. We'll draw on insights from some ball players, Julio Rodríguez and Ted Williams, also Josh Waitzkin, Andre Agassi, Charlie Munger and his buddy Warren, and even one of my favorite movies, Tin Cup, to show how the same principle applies across different domains. You can find more stories and essays like this at winwithflynn.com. But if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's jump into the show. Becoming blunderless. It's been a few weeks, and I'm getting over it. When Julio Rodríguez struck out to end the Mariners season, I started thinking about what it really takes to become an all-time great. How all of us, even the best of us, struggle against our own nature. The secret to success, thank goodness, isn't to press. It isn't to strive for perfection. The real unlock is eliminating those big blunders, becoming blunderless. It's easy to default to a tidy narrative. Someone has talent, they lean into it, make it big, and the rest is history. Athlete or artist, talent plus time, done. But real performance is a little bit messier. Julio is one of the most electric players in baseball, a budding superstar. He's brilliant, but he's also kind of a bonehead because he's a little too aggressive. It comes from a good place. He wants it. He wants to be an all-time great. And because he wanted it so badly during that last at-bat in Toronto, he did exactly the opposite. For Mariners fans, that aggression is part of the charm. We've learned to live with the strikeouts because of the payoff. First pitch swinging, laser in the gap, so it's worth it. But as he chased pitches well out of the zone, I was cringing because it was expected. I'd seen this movie before. Anyone who's watched as many Mariner games as I have knows the pattern. Bust him inside, sweeper away, game over. But with MVP candidate Cal Raleigh waiting on deck, it was hard not to wonder, why can't Julio be just a little more patient? After the game, the clips of that final at-bat filled social media. Analysts pointed out that Julio didn't see a single strike. 6 pitches, all balls. I'm sure he was thinking, hey, with 2 balls, no strikes, this guy's gotta come to me. And when he puts one over the plate, I'm going to lose it over the left field fence. But that pitch never came. We all know Julio can expand the zone when he wants it a little too much. A textbook unforced error. What I didn't know is that there's a name for games that are decided this way. The loser's game. In Extraordinary Tennis for the Ordinary Player, Simon Ramo observed something telling about how matches are lost. Crucially, the same logic explains how the very best win them as well. At the professional level, tennis is a winner's game. Matches go to the player who can hit the most winning shots. At the amateur level, tennis is a loser's game. Matches go to the player who makes the fewest mistakes. Points aren't won so much as they're lost. You don't need to read past the front cover flap to get the point. He writes, "The greatest mistake the ordinary player makes is in thinking he must ape the techniques of the pro. The big service, rushing the net, decisive slam shots, requiring top training, top conditioning, and instantaneous reflexes. The average player has neither the skill nor the stamina to use such methods." Ramo put it numerically. saying that professionals win roughly 80% of their points by skill, whereas amateurs lose about 80% of theirs through unforced errors. The distinction between amateurs and professionals is useful, but it's not two different games. The principle is the same at every level. Pros just execute it relentlessly. At the highest levels, winning still looks like blundering less, letting the other side make the last mistake. Julio, though operating at the highest level, was susceptible to the amateur's trap. Winning on skill often means seeing the pitch for what it is, a ball, and letting it go. Each time he chased a pitch out of the zone, he was effectively giving the pitcher a free point, turning their mistake into his own. It was an unforced error. Simply staying put, waiting for a strike might have kept the season alive, at least for one more at-bat. Ramo's framework influenced broader ideas, like using error avoidance in life and in business, including Charlie Ellis's famous investing essay, The Loser's Game, which argues that most investors would beat the market by avoiding common mistakes rather than chasing exceptional returns. Successful investors were nodding their collective heads while reading that essay, but the ideas stayed in those professional ranks until Warren Buffett decided to put his money where his mouth was. In 2007, Buffett made a bet that a simple Vanguard S&P 500 index fund would beat a portfolio of 5 hedge funds over the next decade. The stakes? $1 million for charity. Buffett crushed it. The loser's game concept is right. Ramo was onto something. But the deeper insight from Ellis and then from Buffett is that even in those professional ranks, it's still largely a loser's game. Outperformance often comes less from brilliance than from systemically avoiding dumb mistakes. And if that's the game most of us are playing, what do we do? First, you've got to know what a good opportunity looks like. Recognize your pitch. Ted Williams used to say the most important thing in hitting is getting a good pitch to hit, and he didn't stop with strikes. He charted how well he hit each part of the strike zone. Low and outside, technically a strike, but one Williams would prefer to take. He waited for pitches he could hit and hit well. That's a Hall of Famer winning at the loser's game. Refuse marginal pitchers, reduce your error rate, dominate the sport, go grab a beer. I'm sure Julio has seen this chart. I'd be surprised if any professional ballplayer hasn't. But seeing and observing are different things. Early in his career, even Williams would chase pitches outside the zone. He had to train himself to wait for the ones he could hit best, a discipline that turned his natural talent into legendary skill. But knowing your pitch is only half the battle. What do you do when your opponent is aggressively forcing the action? Create empty space. My son enjoys chess. We've attended chess club at the local library, and watching him learn the game revealed something obvious. Most kids were beating themselves. I've always been a bit of a Julio Rodríguez when it comes to chess, lunging at opportunities instead of letting the game come to me. In other words, I wasn't the best choice to teach him the game. So we took a few online classes through chess.com and Duolingo. Just the basics. Control the center of the board. Free your knights and bishops. Castle early. I still struggle with that. But what they didn't teach explicitly was the power of the blunder check. One kid at chess club, his dad would record every single move. It was super obnoxious, but he played really aggressively, launching attacks at my son, pushing the tempo. Most kids would panic, launch an ill-advised counterattack, but my son just sat back. He defended calmly, and he waited. Eventually, the aggressive kid would overextend, and he'd leave his king exposed. Josh Waitzkin in The Art of Learning discusses this dynamic. Early in his career, Waitzkin's aggressive style left him overcommitted. He would beat himself. He matured, learning to bleed fewer points and engineering opponents' blunders instead of committing his own. Waitzkin learned the power of empty space. When an aggressive attack is launched, create a void. Step back. Let the aggression fizzle out with minimal damage. There's a natural tendency to meet aggression with aggression, but that's a loser's bet. It makes you susceptible. Here's a concrete tactic. Waitzkin teaches, before any aggressive move, ask yourself, what am I giving up? Check for undefended pieces. Check the squares you're abandoning. One deliberate blunder check per move. Simple, but often the difference between brilliance and a bad beat. Will you screw up? Sure. But, as they say in chess, the winner of the game is the player who makes the next to last mistake. Creating space is defensive wisdom. But what about when you need to win, not just survive? Be gravity. In the late 1980s, a young phenom from Las Vegas named Andre Agassi was trying to find his way on tour. Skilled, but erratic, and very fun. He found Coach Brad Gilbert, a retired pro who crushed Budweiser's and told it like it was. Why was Agassi failing? He was trying to be perfect, trying to hit winners on every shot. Gilbert saw a different path. With Agassi's footwork and his ability to return shots, all he needed to do was keep the ball in play. He needed to play the loser's game. Gilbert told him to be like gravity, an unrelenting, undeniable force, a returning machine that forces opponents to keep playing until they falter. Make them feel you, Gilbert said. Keep the pressure on until they wilt in the sun on center court. Gilbert understood that when you play high probability shots, you rarely miss, and pressure accumulates. Every return that stays in bounds forces the opponent to make another decision, take another risk, expend more energy. Agassi's consistency didn't just reduce his unforced errors, it raised the error rate for his opponents. Facing someone who never gives you a free point, oh my God, it just wears you down. Apply pressure, be gravity, and force mistakes from the other side. Aggression can work. I've told my son's teams to be default aggressive, but maybe the better word is persistent. Pesky even. Take what they give you, and when your opponent gets aggressive and starts to beat themselves, let them. Have you seen Top Gun?
Matt, you want to know who the best is? That's him, Iceman. It's the way he flies, ice cold, no mistakes. Just wears you down, you get bored, frustrated, do something stupid, and he's got you.
Sounds blunderless to me. And it's only after internalizing this that Maverick finally becomes the best pilot he can be. Against your nature. In his 1989 Wesco Financial Annual Report, Charlie Munger wrote, "It is remarkable how much long-term advantage people like us have gotten by trying to be consistently not stupid, instead of trying to be very intelligent. There must be some wisdom in the folk saying, it's the strong swimmers who drown." In this shareholder letter, Munger makes the case, and a good one, for slow and deliberate growth. He outlines the somewhat boring investments they made during the year: Gillette Company, Champion International, so he's investing in razors and socks. But his closing remark is what really sticks with me. He said, "Wesco continues to be more like a tortoise in a race of hares. And as we have demonstrated, this particular tortoise," speaking about himself, "is not very sprightly." He sharpened the image. Moreover, what sprightliness remains is often deterred by a remembrance of past outcomes, which were as bad as the writer's dog when it limped home from its first foray outside the yard, injured by a car and bloated from overeating garbage. That sprightliness, that is our nature. We lose some over time, and we suppress a whole lot more, because it often comes with pain, injury, or bloat. The best investors, like the best hitters, learn to wait for a good pitch. None of them played this way naturally. Williams chased early in his career. Waitzkin's instinct was chaotic aggression. Agassi wanted every shot to be a highlight. They all had to push back against their nature. They needed coaching, discipline, and often years of practice to internalize what sounds simple. Wait for your pitch, check for the blunders. Mistakes will be made, but there is no shame in letting them happen to the other guy. That's the mark of a pro. In Tin Cup, Roy McAvoy faces this fight with himself. On the final hole of the U.S. Open, needing only a safe layup to win, his caddy begs him to play it smart. McAvoy can't. He goes for the green, over the water, splashes it. Then he splashes it a few more times and throws away the title. As McAvoy admits, the one time in my life I know the play is to hit the layup. My whole life and future and career on the line, and I still can't make myself do it. He knew he just couldn't do it. Most of us live somewhere on that spectrum, too much risk or too little. Roy's girlfriend, Molly, calls it listening to the tuning fork, the two sides vibrating together. There we have it. That's the pod. Thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Give it a thumbs up. And if you've got a few extra seconds, give it a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you are listening. The engagement will make you feel so good, and it'll help other people find the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
All right, there you go, America. I love you. I'm proud of you. I mean it. We gotta go. This is great.